Hey gang, it's me, Ben, the Amateur Exegete, and this is a tour of my library. Okay, so here we go. We're going to walk in. This is the man cave. That's what we've dubbed it. It's mostly just video game stuff and books. This isn't my entire collection either. This represents most of it, but there's a number of books in storage, whether it's duplicate volumes or a lot of my apologetic books have moved into there because I just don't use them anymore. But you'll find mostly history, science, and biblical studies here. So right there you'll see Cleo. That's our border collie, and she heard her name. And in my man cave, you'll see her crate that she rarely, if ever, uses. Maybe if we're gone for a few hours, she'll stay there. But next to her is a bookshelf. You'll see some mostly fiction volumes. I'm a big fan of Agatha Christie, and I have a few volumes by Colson Whitehead, Immortals. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But these are some of my fiction volumes. It is by no means all of them. At the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but there's some Tolkien. So over here, though, you'll see the most important part of my man cave, my coffee maker. Yes, this is the most vital member of the man cave, because when I get up early in the morning, this baby has the sweet nectar of the gods. So, yeah. Now over here in this shelf, and that shelf, you'll find mostly history books and science. So let's start with the very first shelf over here. So these are all the Library of America. I got these 15 years ago, I think, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but you'll see it's kind of hard. The lighting's not great, but writings by Lincoln and the debate over the Constitution, the Constitutional Convention, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, just different authors. And these are primary sources, is what these are, and very valuable. One of my first loves was American history, and I've collected a number of volumes over the years on that subject. One of my favorites, though, is right here, Stephen Ambrose's To America, which is an excellent read and was very, very influential in my life, even though he was a controversial figure and still is. But Stephen Ambrose, excellent little volume there. Here we have more history, some books that I used in college, and some books I've purchased since then, and some books my parents got me, specifically Barbara Bush's memoir and this one on the Reagans. So exciting. Ron Chernow's Hamilton. We're all familiar with that, right? So, yeah. Here we have some more volumes. A lot of them are actually on the founding period. Joseph Ellis's two books, American Creation and Founding Brothers. A Leap in the Dark, John Ferling, and his book on George Washington. This volume, though, right here, if I can grab it, oh, come on now, is really important. This is John Fea. It's his book, Was America Founded as a Christian Nation? A Historical Introduction. This is the first edition, I believe. He's got a second one out. But it is one of those books that shows you just how complicated things are when we discuss the founders and the history of our country in terms of whether or not it was a Christian nation. He shows that David Barton's view is wrong, but the opposite end, that it's a completely secular country, he just shows it's just simply not the case. It's a very good book. Faye is not a fundamentalist or anything like that. He's an accomplished historian, and this is a book I just really recommend. Here's some more volumes. This one here, Most Blessed of the Patriarchs, by Annette Gordon-Reed and Peter Onuf. I read this on vacation in Pensacola 6 years ago or so, I think. I'm trying to remember. Really good book. Easy to read, but also fascinating. You have the Landmark Herodotus, another volume that I recommend. The Bible Told Me So by J. Russell Hawkins. This was eye-opening, especially about private schools that formed in the wake of Brown versus Board of Education. Just crazy stuff. Of course, Tom Holland's here, his translation of Herodotus, and his book Rubicon. This was my first Tom Holland book, actually. First one I ever got. So yeah. More history. So probably the most important volumes here, or most important volume on this shelf, is Pauline Myers' American Scripture on the making of the Declaration of Independence. It's a classic in American history. A really important book. It's older. I can't remember the date. It's an older book, but well worth the time spent in it. And David McCullough, really enjoyed David McCullough. His book, 1776, was really great. That light came from the dog wanting to go outside. Yeah, she's wagging her tail. Either way. Another good book here, Sweet Taste of Liberty by W. Caleb McDaniel. Was a really... It was an interesting book about, if I remember correctly, a woman, a slave, who had escaped and was in free country, but was captured and sent back and re-enslaved, and then her struggle and her family struggle to get compensated for that, for this re-enslavement, though she was free. And she may have actually, it may have been that she was freed. She was freed and then re-enslaved. Like, it was a complicated tale, and it was it's kind of a heart-wrenching story about American slavery. Here's some more U.S. history. Just a few volumes. Here's The Flag and the Cross by Philip Gorski, Samuel Perry. I recently read that and did a review of it, so if you're interested, you should check it out on my website. Another shelf of history books. You'll notice here, this is Matthew Stewart's Nature's God. Goes into, things like what did Jefferson mean when he talks about natural rights, nature's God, we are endowed by our Creator, things like that. So, and then here, this is the last shelf of U.S. history books. Ellen Taylor's on there. Let's see who else. Gordon Wood, who is not without controversy. And then here's this was my first ever book on U.S. presidents. And to show you just how old a volume this is, new includes George Bush. And that's not George Bush from 2001, 9/11 George Bush. That's his dad. That's how old that book is. So, if you ever wondered how old I was, I'm ancient. Before we start the next shelf, I just thought I'd show you that the dog has put herself in timeout, apparently. I don't know what she's done, but she's decided she wants to lay in her crate. Dogs, right? Anyways, so this is, and I'm going to sit down. This is the first of 3 little shelves on science. You'll have Sean Carroll way over yonder, and Brian Cox, Jerry Coyne's book in evolution, some Richard Dawkins volumes, and then this bad boy right here, The Rocks Were There. And you should recognize this duo, because they're on Twitter. James Downer, Jackson Reed. I don't know when Volume 2 is coming. Hopefully soon. But that's a meticulously researched volume. They know their stuff. So Jackson, if you're watching this, let us know, when is Volume 2 coming out? Some Gould books, split between 2 shelves. Structure of Evolutionary Theory, Panda's Thumb. This is the first book I've ever read by Gould back when I was a teenager, Full House. I remember nothing about it, so don't ask. Continuing on, more science volumes. You have Stephen Hawking, of course. And there's some math volumes, too, thrown in here. But, let's see, Kenneth Miller, his 2 books. Oh, wrong one. Only a Theory, and Finding Darwin's God. These are 2 good books, really good books. I really enjoyed them. Let me shift my butt over. Bill Nye's book on evolution. This is a good one, Joe Nickell, The Science of Ghosts. He's a bit repetitive in this, but it's still a worthwhile read. It's still really good. So yeah. Here we have some more science books. The last of the science books. Then I have some Sagan. Neil Shubin's books, Your Inner Fish. I just finished this one, Some Assembly Required, which is a really fun read, informative. Some Neil deGrasse Tyson. Carl Zimmer's The Tangled Bank textbook, the 2nd edition. I read that through completely, and it was really interesting. Most of it was over my head, but it was still a really interesting read. Down here is my magazine collection. So you'll see, let's see, American History Magazine. You'll see Popular Science. You'll see New Republic. You'll see Psychology Today. My personal favorite, The Atlantic. And also, Mad Magazine, because I am also a child, apparently. And then a bunch of Scientific American. Tons of Scientific American. Also Philosophy Now, Biblical Archaeology Review. So let's see, here's Biblical Archaeology, Philosophy Now, just a few magazines. Eventually I'll start getting rid of some. There's no point keeping, going back a certain amount of time unless their articles are really important, in which case I'll just scan them and notate where they came from exactly. So down here is just, first you have some books on Islam. You'll see the Study Quran, which is really good. Really important volume that probably anyone who's interested in the Quran should have on their shelf. It's like it sounds. You have the text of the Quran in English, and you have notes underneath. Really helpful. And I think there's little introductory sections to the different surahs, different chapters. And in the back, you can find different appendices on all sorts of topics. This one's how to read the Quran. This one is, let's see, the Islamic view of the Quran. and so on and so forth. There's all sorts of topics here. So really good volume. And then there's just some other miscellaneous stuff, psychology textbook, and stuff for my kids. But so yeah. Over here, you'll see the bulk of my collection is books related to biblical studies. New Testament, Hebrew Bible. There's some philosophy books mixed in there. I thought this would be a good place to put them as I was reorganizing my library recently. So right here, you have some books by Dale Ellison, his tome on James, and his recent book on the resurrection. Of course, the Hebrew Bible translation and commentary by Robert Alter. G.K. Beale is up here, his commentary on Revelation, and the work he edited with D.A. Carson. Is it D.A. Carson? Let's make this and find out. Yeah, D.A. Carson, which was interesting. Here you'll see, so this is Helen Bond's book, The First Biography of Jesus, which is essentially a book on genre and how Mark as a Greco-Roman biography works. Like, how do we know that's the case, and why is it important to know that? She does an excellent job. She's just an amazing scholar anyways. But this volume, it was really hard. It's hard to put down. Extensive notes, and she just does a really, really good job. She's just an interesting writer, makes some very interesting observations. So if you're interested in the genre of Mark, this is the book to get. It's a recent volume. Get it. It's well worth your money and time. So I like Helen Bond. Also on this shelf you have a couple other volumes that you may recognize. Move this baseball. So we have Josh Bowen's 2 volumes right here. The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament, Volume 1, and his book on slavery. So both good books, especially the book on slavery. I can't recommend enough. Use this in college. Syntax in New Testament Greek by Brooks and Winberry. Raymond Brown's Birth of the Messiah. If you want a top-notch commentary on the infancy narratives in Matthew and Luke, that's the volume to get. It's just hands down excellent stuff. So here's some more volumes. We of course have John Calvin's Institutes. Dun dun dun. Books by Richard Carrier. Carson and Moo's Intro to the New Testament. Here's a good one. This is John Collins' commentary on Daniel for Hermania. This is a really good one to have. It's one of probably the best commentaries out there. So there's extensive notes and commentary on the passages. Introduction is pretty extensive. This will set you back a good amount. These volumes are not cheap. But, if you're really interested in Daniel, this is a good place to start. So save your money up and get it. You will not regret it. Leave that there for now. Let's go back to the shelf. So we have some other volumes by Michael Coogan. Coogan's Old Testament textbook right here. Just great introduction. Vital. You should probably get it. And this is a good book right here. The source book. Ancient Near Eastern Texts. It shows you parallels, kind of like the cultural milieu, in which the Old Testament was made, in which the stories are based. So that's a really helpful volume. This is a short shelf that is bookended by the works of Jonathan Edwards. But there's a few in here that I would really recommend. Let me move this real quick. Rodney Decker's 2 volumes on the Greek of Mark, really good. Deaver's great, but this volume right here, let's see. This is a commentary on Mark by John Donahue and Daniel Harrington, and it is really a really good commentary. So if you look at it, you'll see that they have notes. So let me get in a little closer. They have notes for each section, verse by verse. And then you have some interpretive stuff that is interesting and references for further study. And this is just it's a vital commentary. I've referred to it numerous times in my work on Mark. It's just a must-have. And I don't think it's too expensive either. So if you're interested in the Gospel of Mark, that's a good volume to have. This is my favorite shelf because it begins with Bart Ehrman, number of volumes there. And it ends with, except for this debate book that I use at college, Paula Fredrickson, who's phenomenal. And in between, there's some really good volumes. So you have, for example, Pamela Eisenbaum's Paula's Not a Christian, Everett Ferguson's Backgrounds of Early Christianity, R.T. Francis commentary on Mark, but Paula Fredrickson is my go-to. She's my favorite scholar. Her book, Paul, the Pagan's Apostle, right here, is just amazing. I've read this 3 or 4 times now. I can't remember. I've lost track. But I find something new every time. It's just extensive notes in the back and, just such good observations. I just really love Paula Fredrickson. She's an amazing scholar. Here we have a few more excellent volumes, including Richard Elliott Friedman. The Exodus is one that's just changed my views on the historicity of the Exodus. I think something happened, and I think Richard Elliott Friedman is probably close to the truth on it. I think his views are good. So I'd pick that up. And his work on the documentary hypothesis. Those are also good. There's Norman Geisler and Frank Turek. David Galler's, I got 2 books by him here. What Are They Saying About the Historical Jesus and the Parables of After Jesus? It's a reception book of the parables. I used this book in college 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Wow. J. Albert Harrell. This is his book, Paul the Apostle. This is a strong book. Really fascinating read. Just a summary of Paul's life and letters, background information, the sources that we can use to reconstruct his life. He does not find Acts useful at all, and for good reason. So, but conservatives won't like him for that. But Harrell's a really, really good author. Oh, I forgot about this one. This is the Hebrew Bible by Norman Gottwald, who just recently passed away a few months ago. This is a pretty good book. Pretty good summary of scholarship on the issue, and he's got some pretty idiosyncratic views, but it's a really useful textbook, well laid out, lots of maps, lots of just an excellent little introduction. I think Coogan's is better. I think John Collins is better. I don't have a physical volume for Collins. I have that in PDF. But Gottwald is still really, really good and well worth having on your shelf. So just some more volumes here. Keener's commentary on Matthew, and Luke Timothy Johnson's commentary on James. So just a few volumes. Down here we have Craig Koster's commentary on Hebrews. Michael Koch's 2 volumes here on, let me move this before I break it. This is The Gospel on the Margins, The Reception of Mark in the 2nd Century. Really excellent book. His book on the Gospel of John, the Beloved Apostle, and how the authorship of the 4th Gospel was attributed to John, even though, it went through a long evolution. So he kind of explains that. So it's a short book, really worth the time. If Bernard's watching, here's the Covenant. still working on my review, and his recent comic book, To Be Done with Sodom. Both are really good. I don't agree with Bernard, and he knows this, but I still think his work is well worth reading. Another recent volume that I read was this one right here, Christology and Mark's Gospel. Really good book. In particular, I enjoyed Sandra Hubenthal's section and J.R. Daniel Kirk. And Kirk's book, he's got a book on Christology, and the title escapes me. It's A Man Attested by God. And his book is about the Christology of the Synoptic Gospels, and how they don't present Jesus as a divine being, but as an idealized human figure. And I think he's right. I think he's spot on about that, and he defends this here. But there are some really good rebuttals here by the late Larry Hurtado and by Adam Wynn that are well worth the read. So this is a volume I definitely recommend. You'll also see here, there's Pickle Rick. This was my textbook in college. This is Machen's New Testament Greek for Beginners, and you can kind of see, I had it labeled, for quick reference during class, and there's notes throughout it. My goodness, I'm getting old. Starting here, in the next 4 little shelves, these are basically reference materials. So you have the Anchor Bible Dictionary, Charles Worth's Old Testament Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1 of the Dead Sea Scrolls Study Edition. I'm almost finished reading it. I'm going to buy Volume 2 as soon as that's done. Some older translations of Josephus and Philo. These are probably, I use this volume in particular, but these are reader's editions of the Hebrew Bible, the Septuagint, and the Greek New Testament. And what happens is you read through the text in the original language, and if there's a form of a word or a noun that is not familiar to you, that maybe it appears only twice in the entire New Testament, or 4 times in the whole Hebrew Bible, the critical apparatus at the bottom will have a lexical entry for it. And if it's a verb or a participle, it'll have what the form is. Like, is it a present active participle, nominative masculine, singular? It'll tell you all that stuff. The one caveat I have is this book right here, it's great, but the parsing system is so much different than these other 3. It's just a different kind of parsing, and it's not as helpful. But I guess that's how the cookie crumbles. There's some also, you see, this is just a Hebrew or a BHS NA 27 and 28. This right here is Heikaine Diatheke. This is the Texas Receptus. This is the Tyndale House's Greek New Testament. This is a diglot. This is the Apostolic Fathers. It's by Michael Holmes. It's got great introductions to each different book. So you'll see here, for example, here's the Letters of Ignatius. He gives a good introduction. And then following the introduction, you'll see Greek text, English translation. And there's notes, especially if there's like a cross-reference or he explains the language. But this is a pretty good diglot for the Apostolic Fathers. I don't remember how much this cost, but if you're interested in it, this is the kind of thing you want to have. Bart Ehrman has one that's part of the Loeb Classical Library. I have PDF versions of those, but I don't use them as much as I use Holmes. I just think Holmes it's more useful, but that's just my opinion. And also here, this is the book I'm using for Latin, Derek Cooper, and then some Hebrew book, and then Diagramming the Greek New Testament, Richard Belcher, those from Pensacola Christian. Here you have lexicons, so you have BDB, Theological Lexicons of the Old and New Testament, Brill Dictionary of Ancient Greek, BDAG, Liddell and Scott Middle, and then finally here we have just English language resources, translations, ESV, this is my Schofield Reference Study Bible, New Oxford, HarperCollins, Jewish Study Bible, Jewish Annotated Apocrypha, and the Jewish Annotated New Testament, Lexham Septuagint, and then these 2 Fortress Commentary on the Bible, Old Testament and Apocrypha, the New Testament, and the Women's Bible Commentary. These are all books, except for maybe the Lexham English. That when I did a recent series of episodes for Bible study for amateurs, and these are some of the resources that appeared in those episodes as part of my amateur toolbox. These are right next to here's my desk, and these resources are right there, so I can grab them. So I'm sitting on the floor, and here's some more volumes. You have Joel Marcus's 2 volumes on the Gospel of Mark, Abraham Ellerby's Gospel on book on 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians, so that was really good. When I did my second season of Amateur Exegesis, Ellerby's was the go-to volume for 1 Thessalonians. There's the McDowells. James McGrath's What Jesus Learned from Women. Lydia McGrew's book, Hidden in Plain View, that I'm reading for the 3rd time. Some volumes by Metzger. His textual commentary on the Greek New Testament. And over here, we have a bunch of volumes by Mark Nanos, who's within that Paul in Judaism camp. I love Mark Nanos. Binding the Strong Man, a commentary on Mark. This is a good one. This is Keith Nichols' book on the Synoptic Gospels. It's falling apart, but it's a really good intro if you're interested in the Synoptic Gospels and the Synoptic problem and how the different authors wrote and worked. It's a really good volume to have. Moving over, scooting. So Father's Day card. Just some books on Matthew. Derek Parfit's On What Matters that I recently read and didn't understand. Thanks for nothing, Ben Watkins. Hi, kid. Over here, you'll see... I just got this volume. This is by Phoebe Perkins. 1st, 2nd Peter, James, and Jude. I like Phoebe Perkins. And as I've been studying James, I didn't have a really good commentary from a woman's point of view. And so I thought, well, I like Phoebe Perkins. Let's see what she has. So I decided to buy it. Don't regret it at all. Really good stuff. A recent book, I haven't read this one yet, but I'm looking forward to reading it when I can. Annette Yoshiko reads Demons, Angels, and Writing in Ancient Judaism. So yeah, some more volumes here. At the end here we have just a few. The book on the Pharisees is really good. Mark Smith's book on the priestly vision of Genesis 1 is really good. Ben Stanhope, I haven't read it completely, but I've kind of, picked through it. Francesca Stavrakopoulou, I butchered that. I haven't read hers, I got recently, but I've cherry-picked that because it's got some good quotes and good stuff. It's a really good index. I love books with a good index, so these are a few. Here's the bottom shelf. More volumes. Lee Strobel, Matthew Thiessen. Oh, yeah, here we go. I can't recommend this book enough. Really good. There's a review of it on my website. Just go to amateurexegete.com, book reviews, and you'll find this. Really good stuff. S.J. Thomason's book, in which she plagiarizes. Stephen Tiger's Doctrine Impossible. Pretty interesting read. One I recommend. His thoughts on Adam and Eve and the first sin are really really interesting. And his writing style is really good too. He's a good author, good writer. Of course, there's Wallace's Greek Grammar. Robin Faith Walsh's The Origins of Early Christianity. I did a review of that one too on the website. Another really important volume. Bunch of books by Walton, Bruce Waltke, and more. Let me scoot over. We're almost done with this part of the tour. Oh, this one I can't recommend enough. L. Michael White, Scripting Jesus. If you do not have this volume, and you are interested in the Gospels, this is the one to get. It's just you got to have this volume. The print can be kind of small, but it's just, I don't know, I love it. I love this book. I've read this, I think, twice now, maybe 3 times. Well worth it. Really good stuff. And there's some N.T. Wright. You know, it's N.T. Wright. And then to finish it out, just some volumes in the Word Biblical Commentary series. These are all Old Testament volumes. I have the entire New Testament. Every volume that they have currently. They don't have a commentary on Acts yet. So you've got to see, here's John, right? Here's John, here's Romans. And I think 1 Corinthians is missing. Yeah, so 1 Corinthians, they don't have a commentary yet for that one that I've seen. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I'd appreciate that. So yeah. Last but not least, it's a small little shelf next to my desk. You'll see John Calvin's commentaries. You'll see the New Testament commentary by William Hendrickson and Simon Kistemacher. You'll also see some newer and older volumes of the New International Commentary on the New Testament. Oh, it's a pile of CDs from when I was a kid, some Weird Al Yankovic and whatnot. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was my library. You know, it's is what it is, and I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you've got a library you want to share, make a video, put it up. I'd love to see some of the books that you have. I know we can't, do an inter-library exchange, but it's always fun to see what books people are reading and what they have on their shelf. So, thanks for watching.